Good evening, everyone. It's another great Friday. Today is again another new session of a webinar session. I would like to welcome everyone to join the session. Today, I'm going to introduce a new title. It's called Importance of Software Development Foundation. Having 19 years of software development experience under his belt, Mr. Walter Wong will share his feedback with students about what is and how he sees software development industry. Walter will share a few tips and tricks about what been through for last 19 years in industry, his lifestyle of being software engineering background and others. Before we start, let me do a little bit introduction about Walter Wong. He is a former high achiever employee with Microsoft Malaysia, or we call it Microsoft MVP. And now he is a founder and CEO of Malaysia's software development company called Gain Secure Sdn Berhad. The company is a leading software development company in Malaysia, revolutionizing the way how people dealing with software by getting the right people for the right job. The company helps thousands of users every day to be more productive and effective. Some of the customized solution has been developed by the company for household names such as convenience store 7-Eleven, Nando's, Giant Hypermarket, MyDeam, AirAsia, and GSC Cinemas. Let's welcome Walter for the webinar session.
Hey, hello Ken. Good evening.
Good evening.
Right. Check my thing.
You can start your webinar.
Okay. Yes, I think I already shared the slides. Can we move on the slides?
Yes.
Okay, that is great. Very good afternoon, evening to all the students who joined this webinar. I'm humbly great that APU or the outfit kind of invited me for another round. This is actually my second round of the webinar. So what we're going to discuss today is talking about the importance of software development. With being talking about the foundations, which is what I realized that something is changing in the industry, and there's a huge problems or the issues, which is a lot of people forget about the foundation and why it's so important about that. So my name is Walter, and then I'm actually the founder and technical lead here based at company in GainSecure. And I'm going to share more about myself as well as I'm going to talk about topic. So I'm actually been awarded by Microsoft since year 2008 until today. I mean, in fact, about a week back, I just got my award. They re-awarded me for another year, so it's actually 13 years that I actually contribute in the communities, and then they give me the award, right? So I actually based in Malaysia, home grew up and born and everything in Kuala Lumpur. So I'm a KL person. And then I actually co-founded two companies, GainSecure and WinProWise. So about 2 weeks ago, I was actually talking about something that what we do in the WinProWise, while today I mostly talk about what we do in the GainSecure, just to share a bit of, for understanding actually what kind of thing we do and why are we so important. And I think it's for the very first time, we will share with you that what kind of interview questions that I will do that from this perspective, you're all able to understand that why is it so important that we have the interview questions to tell you guys upfront so you can prepare for it. Not necessary to be in my organization, but it can be something that you all will be useful when you go for the interview in the futures, right? Lastly, has been the international conference speakers for Microsoft Azure and other software development topic for many years. Just to share with you some real facts. All right, 23 years of software development experience, but in actuals, I would say that in the 19 years, actually, is the real calculated year in the industrial software development experience. So if you try to understand that why is the 4 years spent, right? The 4 years is because during the secondary school, I has been exposed to something what we call software programming, right? So I've been learned something before I even joined the college. But to be frank with you, the 4 years itself, I've been following instructions, but I don't really understand the concept of the software developments. I just try to copy and code here and there. Back then, we don't have Stack Overflow. Back then, we don't have Google's. We just follow books, and then be able to create the software for ourselves. But it's still something that we follow instructions, but we don't understand the reason behind it. And I've been thrust into the entrepreneurships, which I founded Gain Secure in the year 2008. So when it come up to this year 2020, actually has been 12 years. And then for information, I'm actually the UPIT alumni. I took about 6 years, or perhaps 5.5 years, to finish my degree, right? A lot of people kind of like ask me, right, why it takes so long. The reason is because I went through a kind of tough study life. What happened here is in my diploma, I actually study full time, while higher diploma and degree, I study part time. That's why the projects, everything got dragged a bit. The only good thing out from there is my final year project allowed to drag another 6 months versus the full-time students, right? Because I'm part-time. At that time, I'm already working. That's the reason why I suddenly have 19 years of software industry um, development kind of experience is because I start working in the year 2001. That's why I finished, I mean, until now, I have like 19 years of the experience, right? Something that's no regret. And personally, I involved in international conference speaking for 15 years. Ever since 2005, I've been involved in various conference speakings. Back then, it's really in the hometown, back in Malaysia. But after that, I kind of like got a chance to speak in Indonesia, speak in Singapore, in Thailand. It's something that, but the last few years, I would say the last 3 to 4 years, I'm very glad that I got a lot of invitation to be able to do presentations at the Japan, at the Hong Kong, at the US, and even in the UK, right? So this is some of the background about myself. Before I ever started to talk about the importance of software developments, I would like to share with you something more about what we do in our company, just a bit of the marketing and promotions. We believe that our culture defines who we are, right? I just want to share with you a little bit what's happening in our organizations. We practice this one. It's kind of the core value in all the stuff that we eat, sleep, work, and repeat. Kind of same thing, right? And this is actually one of the t-shirts that we printed out and give out to our staff and our friends. It's a real t-shirts that we printed out. And then we believe a lot of things in getting right equipment for the right stuff and do the right things. Just to give you examples, right? If you want to become a software engineer, you have to invest a lot of money in the equipment. That's why in our organizations, all the software engineering teams or the, I would say, technical staff will actually have to carry a gamer's laptop because it's back, right? So every laptop we have today is running on 512 SSD, running on the minimum 16 GB of RAM. Some of this running on the 32 GB, okay? Right. Okay, and then this is just some of the laptops that we have. We've been using Lenovo, we've been using Elite Gears, and then personally, myself has been using the Asus ROG, right? That's only for myself, right? And we also got a lot of equipment for our staff because we believe that to continue to give you more productive and able to have an environment to learn, you need to have all the equipments, such as the monitors, right? So we prepare like a 27-inch monitors for you, as well as a mouse and all those things. This is something that we brought to our staff as well. If you want to listen to music, you want to have your own space, right? We give you a reasonable quality headset to help yourself. And this is the latest news. About 2 weeks ago, we actually ordered this is the aftershock. We ordered it from Singapore. That we order a few units to our colleagues. So it's kind of like the upgrade, and including to our new staff, they'll be using this one, right? So this was shared with you. This is what we have in as a cultures that we give you some of these informations. All right, we give you some of the equipments to make sure you have the right equipment to do the right jobs, including if you want to learn, you need to get the right equipment to learn something, right? This interesting, this about the gamers or developers lifestyle. All you have in our office is all sort of junk foods, a lot of soft drinks, which is not healthy, but it can keep you guys happy. Right. One thing before I jump into more concrete about the topic, I found this slides on the internet, and I feel it worth for you to share. Right. What most of your friends think you are doing, if they are not into the IT industry, they just think that you just repair a PC. I can very sure a lot of you that got a request. Oh, you study IT. Can you help me to fix a PC? Oh, my PC got a virus. Can you help me to kind of like clean it up, that kind of thing, right? And this is what your parents as well as your relatives think what you do. And because you carry a word called software engineers, there's many terms available in the industry, which I believe I will talk about it in a short bit. But people just do not understand programmers, software engineers, all these kind of terms sounds the same to you, but actually they're different. But the moment you carry the title of software engineers, application developers, people thought you look like a hacker, right? That's why. And one thing I do not understand today is why every time you see a hacker movies, the screen must be black. Maybe it's cool. I'm not sure about that, right? And while you try to work out the code, of course, from my perspective, because I'm actually the technical background, I do understand what you do. But there's some business owners who do not understand what the software developer do. They just thought you sit in front of a laptop, just type something, right? And a lot of time, while you're in the school, you're able to create a lot of projects. You create a lot of what we call final year projects. You bring games. You build all sorts of things. You think that you are there. You are very cool, right? But at the end of the day, you realize that whenever for you, whatever you achieve at the end of the day, you kind of copy everything from Google or Stack Overflow, right? Which I'll talk a bit about that one as well. When you study in APU, or even for those of you who's not from the APU college, you kind of like getting the same terms that you're not able to understand what is that, especially in the Malaysia cultures. Some people, when there's a lot of people who in the industry just do not able to differentiate between computer engineering, computer science, as well as software engineering. So in this particular statements, I think kind of clearly explain between some of these terms to you. If you are studying in computer engineering, you're kind of solving problems in the hardware that you kind of like solving between the hardware and the softwares. In what examples, right? For example, if you're building a software for parking payment machines, because the parking payments involve like hardware, and then you're building a software to interfere. So if you're in that kind of job, you're kind of like inside computer engineering. Computer science are very different. Focus on understanding design and developing programs, right? Also the things like the algorithm and some of these things. So that is what you do if you are in that statement to, like, for example, building a software to solve a very complex, for example, COVID virus kind of thing, right? For those of you who in software engineering, you're basically building and maintaining a lot of software systems. You're basically just surrounding providing solutions. So if you ask me what's my background, right? My background really starting from software engineering. And then down the road for the 19 years in the industry, I evolved my skill set to merge into computer science, which focus a lot on algorithms, including some of the projects that we do today are surrounding computer engineering, which is we talking to the hardware like kiosks. This is something that I have on my personal experience, and I just want to let you guys know there's a difference between computer science and software engineering. There is a difference. It's not so distinctive in the Malaysia market or perhaps in the Southeast Asian market. But if you go going to US, which is the mecca of all this IT software industry, there's a very clear distinctive about some of these things. If you're just going to build a point of sale systems, you only need to be a software engineer. So you don't do anything else, right? If you want to join like Microsoft, Amazon, Google's to kind of fine tune their, for example, their search algorithms, you need to be in a computer science students in order to understand, right? The next question to ask yourself is, Are you a Stack Overflow developers? Actually, the terminology of this has been around for many years. Before the Stack Overflow getting famous, we always ask people, right? Are you a Google developer? That everything you just search on Google and you do copy and paste. Why I want to highlight this is because if you have a skill set that I mentioned in these slides, which is the computer engineering, com science, and software engineers, you still need to go to Google or Stack Overflow to solve some of the issues, but you are not rely on this as the primary channels to kind of solve your problems, right? If today I give you a problems and everything you go there and actually did a search and give me a result, I will be very pissed off, right? Because you never think through a process. What you can study in school, everything is taught you how to think, how to solve a problems. It's not teach you how to use Google to solve a problem. It's not teach you how to use Stack Overflow to search for a thing and then to solve a problems. So this is something very very interesting that you should have. You should have a consent or a process within your mind that everything you're trying to do, you should have something there, and then you only go to the cloud or go to the internet to search for some basic information such as the syntax. Maybe use the syntax wrongly, because syntax can be a lot of type, right? You can do a .NET, you can do a Java, so very hard for someone to remember everything. So from there, you can go and search, but it's not like, for example, people give you requirements how to do a point of sales and search result. Immediately, you just take the whole sentence and key into the Google or Stack Overflow how to search something. This is not the way how you solve a problems, and it's not healthy. Because I see many junior come out in this, and I have to take a lot of time to train the junior to think very differently. Okay. The next question is that maybe a bit traditional for you all, because this is actually a very traditional terms, but a lot of people just do not understand what exactly CRUD, right? CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. So a lot of system is surrounding today, like for example, you do a point of sales, you do a lot of things are surrounding create, update, delete. That's why every time you do a project in APU, or when you propose a project, you propose like online e-commerce shop. You can sell online laptop, you can sell online groceries, you can sell all sorts of things. Sometimes I just have a joke with some of the lecturer, like how many e-commerce project that you all get. Basically, it's the same kind of requirements. It's just you change the product you want to sell, and then they make that as the final year project title, right? So if you do that kind of projects, what you do as really a CRUD developers, you just basically pump the data inside to a database that you use these four things to manage, such as create a new records. You want to read a record, you want to update the existing record, you want to delete the existing records. So then your skill set is only confined to CRUD. You don't even get to understand more in-depth of the software engineering perspective, right? So that's why we say that, are you just a CRUD developer or you are more than that, right? So I cover two things. Are you the Stack Overflow developer? At the same time, are you the only CRUD developers? Because if you have, even if you guys having these two, then the value to bring up into the industry, to the market are very little. It's just that little up to a sense that you don't have a special skills, right? You need to have some special, just like a Marvel movies, every hero need to have a special skills, right? Right. One thing I always heard in this is I getting very sad is people do not understand actually people when come for the interviews. Every time I come to interview, I will share with you in the next few slides that I don't even ask you about whether you know C Sharp. I don't even ask you whether you know Java. I don't even ask you whether you know how to use PHP. I don't judge you. When people who come into the interview, especially the junior, I mean the senior have a different kind of questions, but when the junior come in, they kind of stuck. Like they're like, I asked them a lot of questions, and they're like, I cannot answer this. And then they always say a similar kind of sentence, which is, oh, whatever you study in the universities is not so important, it's not practical. And that is a very, very wrong mindset. Very, very wrong mindset. Everything you study today is go back to the foundations, which is what you study in tertiary. Including, I'm telling you, some of the things that we do today even go way behind the tertiary level, which is the college or universities. I tell you, whatever I learned in the Form 5 Add Maths, I mean the additional maths, is still useful today, right? So those are the things that you need to understand, right? Whatever you learn today in the school are super useful. You have to be understanding what it does. Like I give you examples, right? If for those of you who attend a class called HCI, Human Computer Interactions, that is the foundation of your user experience. If you want to build a good apps that look nice, people know how to use it, user friendly, you have to go back to study your HCI, right? If you want, for example, right, if you build a system, the e-commerce, you want something very fast in searching, just like you do a Lazada. Why people Lazada have millions and millions of product in search within a seconds, then the thing will come up. If you want to be kind of that, then you need to learn how to use data structures, right? So some of these things are super important, right? But a lot of people just thought that it's not important. So now I share with you three things that I actually will only ask you, cannot run away. These are the three primary questions I will ask any of the candidates who want to come for interview for software engineering roles. Number one, I'll ask you about OOP, object-oriented programming, right? Number two, I'll ask you about data structure or algorithms. Number three, I'll ask you about RDBMS. I'm not sure they still use these three as the subject name in the university. If yes, but if it's not, then you just have to understand when I explain more, then you could do map back. Number one, why you need to understand OOP? Because it's the foundation of programming paradigm, right? Without that, you just can't do write any softwares. You need to understand OOP as the foundations. This is one of the super important foundations that if you don't understand, if you don't understand objects, it's very hard for you to write programs. Then what is the point, right? Like for example, if you want to become a chef, right, you must able to have a very distinctive taste bud. You be able to understand how to balance the dish, right? Same thing, right? Sometimes you go to some like a restaurants, right? You order a dish come out very salty, very sweet, and then you always complain the chef don't know how to cook. Same thing here. If you build a software and the software is not surrounding objects, it's kind of like you don't understand the foundations. People say your thing is crap. So it's important for you to understand that how OOP actually works. So what I did today is I kind of prepare some of the things to share very simple coding that I'm not going through everything, but I kind of like confine the whole semester within 3 to 4 slides in a super summaries way. Object-oriented programming surrounding me particularly three main concepts: inheritance, encapsulation, and polymorphisms. So every time I ask them, when a candidate come for the interview, I ask them, explain to me what are the three main concepts of OOP. They're like stuck. They're like something, right? They might understand what exactly encapsulation does and inheritance does, but they're not able to use the keyword and tell me. Sometimes if you want to impress your so-called your superior or interviewer, some of these keywords you have to remember. That's why when you do a test or during the exam, you put down these 3 keywords, immediately you score the points because the marker kind of looking for some of these keywords, right? So just remember this: inheritance, encapsulations, and polymorphism. The number 1 and 2, a lot of students remember, but number 3, they are totally don't remember at all. They don't remember at all that what they learned in polymorphisms, right? So inheritance are very straightforward. You basically create objects. Like for example, it's kind of like I still remember my lecturer who taught me last time in APU or UPIT. They tell you that inheritance is like if you want to produce a Coca-Cola, you know the cans, Coca-Cola cans. They kind of have a mold for all sort of brandings. Every brand just inherit from the same mold, and then you get all the cans of the different design you want. Same happen here. If you want to create what we call the class objects, you can inherit. Why? So you save time. Like for example, you want to create 2 classes. For example, student and lecturers. Both of them have name, right? So you kind of share. You create a class called human, and then you kind of inherit that both. But student ID, you're going to have a student ID as a attributes. But if you have a lecture, You don't have a student ID, but you have a staff ID, right? So from that perspective, you can have two classes with different attributes, but a lot of things that you can share, one you can share within a common class. So that's what we call inheritance. You must understand the concept why people do this. Every time when people come for the interview, I will ask them, in what sense? So some student who is more better in interview, they were able to explain to me in such a sense. But if for those of you who only remember my books and think it's not important and not practical, then how are you going to explain to me? I'll ask them, give me a scenario. Any scenario you want. You can use human, you can use animal, you can use projects, anything you want. And some of them just don't know how to put that into a practical sense. So that's why I say this is very important. Encapsulations, we create all sorts of properties. Why are we creating this? Why are we creating this? Because you don't want people to access the information directly, right? That's why you create various kind of thing like for example, get name, set name in order to have this. But because this one I'm showing you running on the C#, so C# give you more easy way to do encapsulations. We just call as a properties, right? We don't use like in Java, you do get set, right? So that's why I learned in school. But when I do in actual, once you have the foundation, you can just apply in any language you want. Polymorphism is someone that always get wrongly, right? Polymorphism, if you search through the English dictionary, what it really tells you is actually something that we have a different, I would say, a different way to look at one things, right? So in this case, that particularly, if you refer back to my slides, there are two things: overriding and overloading, right? Overriding, I didn't mention anything about. Let me show what's overloading. Overloading is always mentioned that one method have multiple parameters, that you can accept multiple parameters. So in this case, if I want to add a new students, I can either pass in by name, by student ID, by age, or I can pass in by name, by student ID. Why I don't need to pass in age? Because let's say that all your people are coming in the same intake. I will know the age by default is 17. I can just don't need to pass the age. Inside the code, I will straight away know the age is 17. So from there, you can use two way to insert. If you don't want, you can do another way, which is passing the whole class. So you actually open up the options to people who use your class. Just have to remember, sometimes when you do some of these things, it's not only you alone in the projects. Of course, in the final year, it's only you alone. But let's say if you want to pass, so let's say if you open up 3 different methods, you share this class with your colleagues, your teammates to do this, they can choose any option they want. I can do the first way, second way, or third way. So these are what we call a polymorphism, to give people options. It's not only one way, there's a multiple ways. This, when you have this kind of tree concept in mind, every time you design a software, it will be super clear, super easy to manage, and people understand when you do a maintenance in the futures of your software, it's a lot more easier and manageable. So this is about the OOP. Now I'm going to talk about data structures. This is the one that a lot of you guys will just hate the thing, and you're just wondering why we study this. If you understand data structures, which I don't understand during the school time, right? I scored distinctions, but I just don't understand the practical part of that until you've been more years into the industry, then you know, right? It's defined and improving the system performance. This is just one way. There are many ways. I give you some examples, right? For people who study algorithms, data structures, right? They have a high chance to go into some of these corporates such as the Microsoft, the AWS, and versus the people who only do CRUD. Because people who really, really understand data structures, they are want to improve, like let's say I do a search of 1 million records, right? If the record come out is 1 second, people want you to improve from 1 second to go into 0.9 seconds. Okay, and from that perspective, why is so important? The reason is because every single thing that you can improve by minor by 0.01 second is super important to these corporates such as the Microsoft, the AWS, some of these people, right? It's just not about the result that you get, it's about the result you get and in the super performance, right? So from this perspective, you have to really, really understand how exactly it works, okay? So if some of you who don't know what's data structure algorithm, think back. I can very sure some of you learn this kind of subject called Leglis, bubble sort, binary trees, right? What I really tell everyone is when you come for interview, I will ask them, do you know exactly what's data structure or the algorithm that you learn? They're like, oh yeah, they studied before. And then the next question asks, like, can you remember any of that? Give me a keyword. Oh yeah, I remember the bubble sort for example. And then from there, I'll ask them, explain to me what is a bubble sort. So that's where every candidate they start there. Because if you don't understand bubble sort and why people are doing that, it's like the foundation is not there. You know what you study, but you don't know what exactly is inside there. It's like because of the exam, you remember, it's data you remember into your head, and towards the end of the day, you just forgot after you finish. I mean, after you walk out from the exam hall, you just bye. All right. So this is something that's not good, right? You need to understand. I know this subject is super tough. There's no way for you to remember everything, even after your exam, right? So it's something tough, but it's something super important. Another one I want to highlight here is that there's a keyword called um, recursive. For those of you who do not understand what's recursive, go and learn. Recursive is a super important concept that always used in data structures to get the result you want, right? If you don't understand the recursive, then it's too bad, right? Because almost all the junior people I train in my organizations, I'll give them a recursive task. Usually that small task, I would say small because it's only one task, they can't get the algorithm right for one week, 2 weeks. Some of them even cry in front of me saying that they're not able to get it right. Right. So that is where the foundation are super important. I'll just give you some example, right? In the recursive, what it does is it will go all the way and it might be possibly went into infinity loop. That's why people get stuck in the loop, right? And when you're stuck inside there, you're not able to solve your problems, right? So these are some of the foundations super important. RDBMS. Oh, sorry, there's some mistake here. It's called RDBMS. I missed out the M there. It stands for relational database. Why is it important? Because everything deal with data, right? Here is where you need to apply your CRUD skill, such as create record, read the records, update the record, as well as the delete the records. This is where you need to know. But that is just what we learn as a skill set. This is the more important one. I can very sure you learn this thing called normalization. Why do we need to do that? Because if you have normalizations, then you can reduce the data duplication. You don't keep storing the same info everywhere because it's it is kind of like a worse practice. So if you then you can do like make your data more clean using the normalization. The next one you always ask like what exactly is the join, right? So people say, oh, I remember when they do project, what exactly is the join? They remember left inner join. So usually in this case, I'll set up a trap for them to understand that if you say you know join, then ask them like, hey, what's next? And say, do you understand what exactly is a left outer join or right outer join? And then the student will just start straight away. So basically, you know one part of the join, and then you don't know the other part of the join. The easiest way for you to understand join, you have to go all the way back to your secondary school. Remember that during your school time, I should remember should be Form 4 Form 5. In the mathematics subject, you do study something called set. And then your teacher kind of like draw two circles, and then there's a overlapping of a circle. That is what join is. So I give you an example. Inner join means you have a circle A and circle B. The one that intersect for both circles is called inner join. It's matching the records, right? And then when you do what exactly is left outer join means you only take the left circle, and then if it's the right outer join, you take the right circles, right? So it does tell you which record have the same one on the other side, which is the opposite of the so-called the circle, then you can join it and then you get left and right and then you get the result. Join and set is related, right? That's why I told you some of this foundation back to your secondary school are super important. It's not that you finish your SPM just throw away, right? Next one, we talk about primary key and foreign key. right? The concept are super important. Primary key is because you want to be unique. Foreign key is because you need to understand the other side of it, and then you need to learn what is data dictionary, right? How you define the metadata is super important. And then at the end of the day, what's the data integrity? How correct is your data? Whatever you do in your final year projects, you might only touch surface of all these points. Surface, I use the word surface, right? Because you just going to have a chance, partially because also the period of the project are very short. You don't get a chance to expose to more. That's why you never get any of this right. But if you got a chance during after your school, right, or even after this particular webinar, to read up more, understand more how practically all this thing has been used in the industry. It's super important. I mean, I give you some of these things that I cover about various kind of skill set that I think is super important, right? That you come back. And then if you realize, I don't even touch a single thing about your PHP. I don't touch anything about your C Sharp, Java, except for the example of OP using C Sharp. I don't touch that. Why? It's because this kind of thing you can learn, right? I'll give some example in a bit, right? I want to talk about the practical versus the reality, right? Um, if you ask yourself, right, how good you are, you might just throw me all sort of things that you have. In the resume that I see, people will just put in every single programming language they know, every single technology frameworks they know, every single thing that they don't learn in the school, they also put inside there, right? Because during the free time, kind of the hobbies, you're gonna learn something which is really, really encouraging. Right? I mean, I really like you guys when you're young and have the passion to do that, right? But I always tell people, right? Your school only teach you something C, Java, not so much C++, maybe something in C Sharp. When they teach you some of these things, it just serves as one of the foundation to you. What they want to teach you in the tertiary level is not about how good you are in using C Sharp. It's not how good you are using Java. It's how good you are in understanding the foundation, the logic. That's what you need to take out from the tertiary level. But because you need to demonstrate, I understand the concept, then you pick a language to showcase what you have learned. That's why during the school time when I was in the APU, when they do object-oriented programming, I still remember this is very interesting. This lecturer, I think I can have say that he's one of the lecturer who can really, really deliver good OOP. That the concept I still remain in my head until today. He said that let's do OP, and because during the time we're using Java, right? And because I don't like to use Java, but I have the concept right, I use C Sharp. In the project that I deliver to them, I don't use the technology he taught me, but I deliver the functionality, the concept using a different language. And then we have a long chat, right? The interesting back in those days about the culture is when you're part-time students, the lecturer we have more open heart to chat with you because you have some experience that we can share. During the time, I still remember, right? Because we study in the evening, right? Then we have a break for a very short 15-minute break. We always sit down, we talk about OOP in the industry. And that time is the rising of a .NET, the Java also there. Then we talk about how to use this in the .NET, this and that. I deliver a project, and he actually gave me a distinction score when I deliver my projects in the C Sharp. And then we talk together and explain, right? All this concept is just a syntax different. You can do OOP in C++, you can do OOP in C Sharp, you can do OOP in Java. There's no right or wrong. As long as you deliver concept, then it's okay, right? Towards the end of that semester, I still remember the last day before the final exams, he actually tell me, hey bro, can you help me to deliver one sessions that summarize all the OOP concept in C Sharp, and I deliver the class. I mean, I deliver the slides. So I very happily come up with the slides, and then I present everything I know that because during the school time, they only teach you how to practically use it in Java. Because the lecturer are very Java centric, he told me, why don't you share your experience from C Sharp? And then I told them, right, from C Sharp, you need to do this, which is slightly different from what you do in the Java, but it's eye opening. So you have to understand is the foundation are there. You can apply it in any of the language you want. So just don't too harsh on the language. a lot of time I'll ask people, right, when they come in, right, I'll ask you, like, for example, these are sample questions, right? How good you are in the C sharps and cloud technology, for example, or even ask you how good are you in DBMS, in Java, in the shift for the Apple, right? I ask you, right, 1 to 9, 9 is the best, 1 is the worst. You rate yourself. So you spend a few seconds to ask yourself particular these questions. How would you rate yourself? Would you rate yourself 5? Would you rate yourself 7? Or would you rate yourself 9 based on your experience? So in a statistic perspective, I share with you, people who come here, I would say 90% tell me they rate themselves 6 and 7. All right, which I a bit fall off my chair, because I believe most students that people I did it because they do whatever they do. They can do CRUD, they can do a bit OOP, which they do not understand the concept, and then they rate yourself at the 6 or 7. No, you only can rate yourself at 2 or 3. It's how low you are in the practical perspective about the thing. But I always comfort them and tell them, right, you can give me a resume full of the languages you know, but all these languages, you must able to tie back to the foundations, such as OOP, such as the data structures, RDBMS. You need to tie back. If you don't tie back, whatever you learn, you will only be 2 and 3. You will never ever able to move beyond 2 and 3. Just never. That's at least my personal expectations. That's why I'm telling you, you cannot move beyond that without that thing, right? Or you just every time do C sharp, you do 7 because you can solve your projects. Every time you go to Stack Overflow, you copy a code and you paste there and you say that you know something. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. That means that you actually know the algorithm in your mind, and then you kind of build the algorithm. If you don't know the syntax, it's okay. You go to Stack Overflow, you copy the syntax. Like for example, if you do the for loop in the shift are very different from do for loop in the C sharp and Java. Fine, right? You can take the concept of doing something, use another language to implement, then it's okay. So the algorithm, the data structures, everything, you must keep it there. Okay. So let's come back to talk about what exactly is the next wave, right? I talk about the foundations, but a lot of things riding up on the foundations at the same time. You must understand what's coming up in the industries that need to prepare yourself for the different kind of jobs you have in the sea, right? What I want to tell you today, it will be your own benefits, and it will be a plus point for you to excel in the futures. Maybe 10 years down the road, you were able to remember the webinar that I talked to you about today, and then you're able to understand that some of these things are served as a very important knowledge for you to go, right? Before even I jump into these 3 points, right, I want to highlight to you, people who do software engineers always think they do not need to understand the network, which is a wrong concept. For information, you even need to understand how security works. Security is how people hack your systems, hack your software. So from that perspective, you need to understand. You need to understand that software development is just not about how to build a software. You need to learn how to secure the software. You need to know how network software works, how one software talking to another's, right? Just like, for example, while you're playing the online games, right? While you're playing a Dota, you're playing all sort of games on your mobile. Have you ever think how 2 players, one in Hong Kong, one in Malaysia, can play games together, and how are this network terminology works? Have you ever think? Everything that going to answer you is come back to your network subject that you study in year 1, year 2, and year 3. Right? Some of this thing you have to understand it back to the foundations. So there are 3 things I want to highlight to you, which is cybersecurity, cloud technology, as well as something we call AI. Right? I'll explain the third one in a bit. Let's talk about cybersecurity. The first thing you learn, I think, should be the first or second semesters when you come to any of the colleges, no matter here or overseas. When they start to teach you programming subject, the first thing they'll tell you is program is a set of instructions. That's what you define, right? It always come out in the exam, so-called questions, right? A set of instructions means you tell him do A, he will do A. You ask him do B, the app itself will do B. As simple as that, right? Today, why all these security problems such as the window patches, people got hacked? Why? It's because they give instructions and they forgot to give some other instructions. Patching means I might forget to give some instructions. When I give patch means I give you extra instruction to make sure my app will cover all the instruction and it never got hacked. As simple as that. Cloud technology, surrounding network, surrounding all sort of things that you do in the next 5 years or even 10 years. The last 8 years of clouds has been roller coasters. People got changed the mindset very differently. You will change again your mindset in the next 10 to at least 10 to 20 years, right? I'll give you some examples, right? Today we talk about clouds. What exactly you understand? Means cloud, you look at the up sky, that means cloud. No, it changed the way how networking works. It changed the way how management works, how you put a thing up there, how you manage the thing up there, right? So cloud, strongly recommend you go and study Microsoft Azure, go and study Amazon Web Services. These two, you study, you just learn a lot, right? Just a lot of things are overlapping, car technology, just different terms. It's like you buy a car, you can buy a Proton, you can buy a Toyota, you can buy a Honda, you can buy a Nissan, right? Just a different brands. But understand what available in the cloud. You go and read Microsoft Azure in AWS, as these two are the leaders, right? And lastly, talk about AI. You heard some word called artificial intelligence, ML, machine learnings, AI as a service. So these three terms, what exactly is that, right? So I just want to tell you at very high levels, you cannot do AI without supercomputer. You need to take at least 10 years to 20 years to do artificial intelligence, right? Whatever you see today, like for example, people talk about using AI to forecast numbers, to study. Like for example, now you have the COVID virus. You kind of like have some apps to using software to study the so-called pattern. That's why you call machine learning, right? Such as you use machine learning to apply on the sales data. That's called machine learning, and that one take about a few months or maybe a year or two, not as long as the 10 to 20 years of AI. Then what exactly is AI services? AI services, you can do it immediately, right? Like it's like, for example, you can do it within a month or a few weeks, right? Such as, all the apps you have on your phone that beautify your face when you take a selfie. Or I give you some examples. When you put in a check into the check machines, they're able to read it. We call the OCR. These are what has been through for the last 20 years. People do character recognitions, and then they make it as an ML, and then they make it a service that you can use it straight away. So this is the difference. You don't tell people you do AI unless you have a supercomputer at your home. It's not your 16 GB RAM and a desktop. No, you need to have a supercomputer, right? If you're consuming something from the internet to make a certain photo looks good, you are consuming AI as a services, right? If you're forecasting data, then you are doing ML, right? So these have to understand the terms. You cannot just tell people that I'm an AI engineer. Then people ask you what you do. Oh, I make the photo looks good on the Facebook. No, that one means you only consume the data. You only pass something, they give you results because that people or the providers already went through AI, went through ML. Right, I kind of conclude the foundations that I want to really emphasize. As you see again, I give you a lot of example. I emphasize it. Towards the end, I just want to share with you some of this lifestyle that we do. That we have a small team. In 2014, we went to Tokyo. 2017, we have a common trip to the Bangkok. 2 years ago in Taipei. Last year, we went to there. This year, I think the whole team stuck at the office. We can't go anywhere. We're supposed to go to Tokyo again, but we're stuck here. The key takeaway for you is everything you learn in tertiary level is useful. I just want to tell you it's useful. Do not think whatever you do is not important. Your lecturer are there for a reason, to teach you, to pass you knowledge, right? Tertiary level give you a support of foundations. I'll tell you that it's true. They give you the foundations, but because you don't have a project to sharpen your skill, that's why when you work in the industry, that's where you take your foundation skill, you apply on it, you sharpen your skills. Okay. And then lastly, software developer life is just not about copy and paste. Do not think that way. If you think that way, there will be a point you will bang to the wall and you'll be very, very pained. Just remember what I'm saying, okay? There are some commercial. We are hiring full-time designers as well as the intern. So some of you who are there who want to for intern, just let us know. The software engineer role can't take up, I'm sorry. But if you want intern, I'm not sure still open or not. But anything, just let me know. We are giving you a free t-shirts from our company because we printed too much, and during the lockdown we now will give away. So how it does is I'll give you my Facebook. You can add me into the Facebook if you want to. Then you can PM me, let me know the size, and then you can call Grab or Lala Move to pick up. It's a free t-shirt. I'll do it free. I'll give it to you. You don't wear to APU because APU disallow informal wear. They only allow you to do formal wear. That's why I see after so many years what they train me, Friday I still wear a formal wear. There's one thing I want to let you understand is there's actually a program that you can join organized by Microsoft. So if you think you study in APU, you don't have enough exposure, you can also join this program. Then you can talk to someone in Microsoft. They'll share with you what I share with them, right? Such as what is the working lifestyle. It's a good exposure. The link is here. This is my Facebook. If you want to add me, feel free to do so and just let me know that, oh, you actually add me, you actually know my link from the APU, and you are not just a random guy who want to add me from nowhere. I think by that I conclude my presentations. Dr. Ken, back to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Walter. It was a very inspiring and yet very informational webinar session.
You're welcome.
Let me start to ask some. I would say I'm generally not a very specific software engineering background person, but I do have some questions to
Oh, sure, no problem.
ask. Okay. Now, you have been many years as a Microsoft MVP. I think many audience maybe they would like to know not only what the title is, but maybe they want to know how to approach the pathway. Like
Okay.
you have been here for
Yeah. So I think the number one thing I want to ask, I want to share with you is the Microsoft MVP award are given to people who contribute to communities. It's much more towards contributions, such as I spend my own time like what we're doing now. I think in the last few years you invite me to the campus and deliver some guest lecture. But what I mean is we learn something from Microsoft and then we share our knowledge with the industry. That is what the MVP is about. It's not about, of course, you must be good in the thing. So when you share the knowledge, you don't share the wrong thing. Okay, so that is quite important. And what it does is there's no path per se, wherever. It's just that if you actively contribute in community, involve in community, giving more, sharing your knowledge to the people, and then if we see you, and then assisting MVP can actually kind of like nominate you. Of course, not only me, there's other MVP or even the Microsoft people who see you, then they can help you. But as a students, because the technical knowledge maybe not there in generally, but I do see there are some MVP who's a student level with super good in technical in one things. But if the student currently in the college are not there, I always recommend them to join the student ambassador, which is the one the slide I presented just now. They can go there, they can do exposure, and then once they know more people, they can do a small skill contribution, such as learning something from Microsoft and redeliver or redistribute the knowledge back in the college itself. They can feel free to do so because I can very sure in all the colleges they have all the SIG, right? The special interest group for C#, for Android, for all sort of things. Yeah.
Okay. And my second question is, I think you have been engaged with a lot of this kind of the development for the application. So, for example, like 7-Eleven, Nando's. Do you mind to share some of your experience about the client expectation related to the software product?
Okay. I think one thing to be
Or maybe
practical.
some of the challenge you have been through?
No problem, no problem. I think in general, when customer asks you to build a software, they expecting nothing but the best, right?
Okay.
Definitely is not the FYP project kind of thing. Just don't think it's that easy, right? So they have a set of what we call requirements. They want to do A, do B, do C. So when you have the A, B, C is their minimum expectations. Once you once you deliver the minimum expectations, there's a second tier expectations which cannot run away from two things, right? Number one, user experience. They expect the app to look as good as Facebook, as good as Twitter's. So your expectation is to deliver a very quality looks and feel of the UI, so they're happy with it. Number two, they actually expecting you to have a perfect app that just run as fast as possible. Like it's like open the app, I don't have to wait. Like the data will come. People been all every software engineer, including myself, will tell them you have to wait. The data is coming in. It might take 3 seconds. It might find no. They will tell you I want immediately. So these are the expectations that customers are expecting. So today, for the student out there, you can give a try to put a database for maybe 1 million records. When you have the 1 million records and you try to search, you say it come out how long? If it's come out 1 or 2 seconds, that's not bad. If it come out like 6 seconds, then it's a bit bad. So that's why you learn into a foundation, you learn data structures, and that's how you can improve it.
Okay. Okay. I have one more questions.
Sure.
Just curious to know about your company near future directions about the software development.
So what happened here is the direction wise we have our own product. We also have our own services team. I think this year and next year we will creating one more products that will be serving a retail. Is because for the last 5 years we have a lot of experience on the retail industry, such as the 7-Eleven, such as the Giant Supermarket, and some of the telcos. That's why we want to build something that is to give out some of these things as a product for the retail industry.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't have any question from the audience. Maybe I think Walter also share the context in the webinar session. If in case the audience have any questions further, maybe they can contact Walter directly. Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I would like to conclude the session. So it was a very inspiring and informational session today. That Walter share a lot of things about software engineering. So let's conclude the session. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.